Welcome to the Novelizers Live at the Yellow Springs Film Festival. Make some noise! And now, here's your host, star of The State, Wet Hot American Summer, and CNN's Have I Got News for You. Give a big Yellow Springs welcome to Michael E. Black.
Wow, nothing gets a crowd going like an Amy Mann song. Well, welcome everybody to the Novelizers Live at Yellow Springs Film Festival. We had a great show for you. Now, if you exclusively listen to podcasts about unsolved murders, you may be wondering, what is the Novelizers? Let me answer that question with another question. Books are always better than movies, but what about movies that weren't based on books? Would they be even better than those movies? The answer is a resounding maybe. Maybe if you make them funny, and that's what we're trying to do. The Novelizers is a podcast where we take classic films that weren't based on books, then get America's top comedy writers to reverse engineer them into books. And then, because nobody in Yellow Springs reads anymore, we turn these books into a podcast narrated by actors and comedians. And just like the airplane, the self-starting engine, and Cheez-Its, the Novelizers was invented right here in Southwest Ohio. So all you need to know is that we are retelling the movie The Matrix. The Matrix, as most of you know, is a classic dystopian film that blew minds and got people asking questions like, what is reality? Am I living in a situation? Should I invest in leather pants? The Matrix came out over 25 years ago, way back in 1999, but it has a real message for us today, that machines left unchecked can pose a danger to who we are as people, but also that human creativity, ingenuity, and love, yes, love, does have the power to overcome the soul-crushing dangers of technology. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what ChatGPT told me when I asked him for more this. So today we're going to be entering The Matrix as you've never seen it before, novelized, beginning with the beginning. Chapter 1. Tonight we're dodging bullets like it's 1999, novelized by Chase Mitchell. The year is 1999, or it's the future, or we're in the future, but we think it's the past, which is our present. The setting, Australia, or a city in Australia that's supposed to look like America, or a computer simulation that's supposed to look like a city in America, but really just looks like a city in Australia, trying to look like a city in America. We open on a wall of green text, but not that really annoying kind of green text you see when you're on a group chat and one of your friends has an Android. It's their fucking phone, Andrew. I'm not impressed that you're a nonconformist. Then the music kicks in, which sounds like it's being performed by an orchestra called Oops All Trumpets. To be fair, the Wachowskis blew most of the budget on special effects, so they did have to hire a high school marching band. We slowly zoom in on the mysterious green scrolling text, which is written in some kind of language other than English, so as an American, I proudly refuse to understand it. By the way, you want to get used to the color green, because this entire movie looks like it was shot through the bottom of a Rolling Rock bottle. The green text slowly begins to spell out two words. The. You can probably guess the other word. Matrix. Title of the movie. I'm a little actually disappointed because I was told that this was a novelization of the lesser-known Matrix porn parody, The Eight Dicks, but this is okay too. We cut to a shot of an empty screen with a single blinking cursor, which, as any employed screenwriter sitting in a Starbucks right now knows, is the scariest fucking thing in the world. Very ominous. You have to remember, this was 1999, right before the start of the new millennium. Or Willennium, as we called it. Now, I didn't understand that joke when I first read it, and so I said, what does this mean? And it was explained to me that the Willennium was apparently the title of a Will Smith album. Did any of you know that? Okay, two people know that. The Willennium, as we called it. And we were all afraid of computers because some guy on TV told us the world was going to end on New Year's because our iMacs didn't know what the number 2000 is. It was a scary time. Kids were playing with Tamagotchis, and the most trusted name in news was Carson Daly. So as the cursor continues to blink, we hear a conversation between two people, one who sounds an awful lot like Walt character actor Joe Pantoliano, still years away from having his head cut off on The Sopranos, and a female voice who sounds a lot like actress who won't return my fan mail, Carrie-Anne Moss. He says, "You weren't supposed to relieve me." She says, "I know, but I felt like taking a shift." So either we're listening to the riveting opening dialogue of a modern sci-fi classic, or a break room conversation at GameStop. As they talk, we see that the call is being traced. The rapidly scrolling digits on the screen begin to narrow down to what appears to be a phone number. And before you get too excited, it is not Carrie-Anne Moss's personal cell phone number. I have tried that 11 times. Pantoliano continues, "You like him, don't you? You like watching him." And whoa, we are less than a minute into this movie and it's already getting horny. The conversation continues. He says, "We're gonna kill him, you understand that?" She says, "Morpheus believes he is the one." He says, "Do you?" She says, "It doesn't matter what I believe." He says, "You don't, do you?" So wait a minute. She's obsessed with him, but she also doesn't think he's the one. We'll never understand women. Suddenly there's a slight click and her tone changes. "Did you hear that?" she says, very paranoidly. "You sure this line is clean?" He says, "Yeah, of course I'm sure." She says, "I better go." Carrie-Anne Moss abruptly hangs up the phone, something I'm very used to experiencing, as the camera continues to zoom in on the number 0 to symbolize how much sense this story makes so far. We zoom back out to reveal a flashlight, not a flashlight, flashlight. But if this movie gets any hornier, I wouldn't be surprised. We see several police officers walking down a dark hallway, doing that thing that movie cops do where you hold out a gun and a flashlight at the same time, like you're looking for a very dangerous spider. Pretty soon they converge on a particularly filthy, crust-covered door, and hey, I think I recognize this place. It's the Motel 6 off the Jersey Turnpike. I used to have business meetings there. The officers kick down the door and barge into the room with their guns drawn on a single unarmed woman, a tactical maneuver which has historically ended very well for everyone. The woman stands up to her computer. It's Carrie-Anne Moss, or Trinity, as in the Father, the Son, and the holy crap is she hot. We cut back outside to see the name of this fine, upstanding establishment, Heart of the City Motel, which sounds like a place where leprechauns get foot jobs. Would hand jobs be funnier there? Let me try hand jobs, let's see. Heart of the City Motel, which sounds like a place where leprechauns get hand jobs. No, you like foot jobs better, fair enough. As the rain pours comes down from the onset rain machine, a black sedan pulls up, and several men climbing out wearing dark suits and sunglasses, sort of like if Men in Black starred 4 Tommy Lee Joneses. The Tommy Lee Jonesiest of the bunch addresses the lead cop, a lieutenant, scolding him for not waiting for them to show up. The lieutenant shoots back, "I'm just doing my job. You give me any of that jurisdiction crap, you can cram it up your ass." I'm Andy Dice Clay all of a sudden. "I'm just doing my job. You give me any of that." And sure, he sounds a little arrogant, but he did just manage to squeeze 2 body parts into one insult, and that's not easy. Back inside, the cops inch closer to Trinity, who's dressed in the latest fall look from Hot Topics formal wear collection. She looks like a dominatrix, who's also a mom. A mominatrix? Anyway, one guy breaks out some handcuffs, and you can tell this isn't the first time that's happened in this hotel room. But just when they think they've got her cornered, Trinity turns and fights back, immediately breaking one cop's arm with her sexy karate. He screams out, "No, that's my suspect eaten arm." He says, "No, that's my suspect beaten arm, not suspect eaten arm." As she shoves her palm up into his nose, making him look, ironically, like a pig. I didn't write that joke. And if there are any law enforcement officers here, I apologize. But I also don't like you. Then comes the money shot. As Trinity leaps high into the air and time freezes around her in the incredible, jaw-droppingly cinematic way, it's the kind of visual so iconic, it eventually gets parodied in a Shrek movie. She kicks the cop clear across the room, right into the wall, then quickly finishes off the rest of the police officers. She kicks a chair at another cop, like the world's baddest lion tamer, then scurries up the wall away from him. Oh, God damn me, Michael. I'm gonna read that whole thing again. She kicks the cop clear across the room, right into the wall, then quickly finishes off the rest of the police officers. She kicks a chair at another cop, like the world's sexiest lion tamer, then scurries up the wall away from them like the world's sexiest cockroach. She then shoots the second to last cop with another cop's gun, aka the perfect crime, then kicks the last officer by raising her legs so high it looks like a special effect. Now panicking as she realizes she just casually murdered a whole Brooklyn Nine-Nine's worth of police officers, Trinity pulls out a flip phone, a primitive device unlike phones of today in that it is primarily used as a phone, and calls an unseen contact named Morpheus. She says, "The line was traced, I don't know how," which is also a handy phrase to use if you ever get caught cheating in art school. Morpheus tells her there's agents coming and that she'll have to find another exit. Trinity walks back out into the hallway, and as the agents get off the elevator, she runs as fast as she can in the other direction, which is also how I react when my agent is walking towards me. I'm just kidding, my agent doesn't even talk to me. She runs out of the motel hallway faster than I did that time I tried to pay for sex with the Dave & Buster's gift card, which is just as good as money, by the way, and out onto the roof, while the agents and police officers who haven't gotten their asses kicked yet give chase. Trinity clambers up one metal rooftop and down another as the cops puff and struggle to keep up, which is a good reminder, kids. Never stop redundant on your way to arrest a cyber terrorist S&M time ninja who knows parkour. Suddenly, Trinity reaches the edge of one rooftop and hurls herself through the air from one building to another, a distance way too far for any normal white person. The only one able to jump after her is the suit and tie-clad agent flying through the air like a super-powered stockbroker. The other cops skid to a stop and look on, dumbfounded. One says, "That's impossible." But as Adidas has taught us, impossible is nothing. Is that an Adidas tagline? I don't know. I'm just not familiar with popular culture, you guys. Back on the other rooftop, the agent cocks his gun and looks around for Trinity, who makes one last desperate dash and flings herself through the air sideways like the world's sexiest lawn dart. She then crashes through a window and down some stairs like the world's sexiest slinky. Trinity lands with her guns pointed at the window she just crashed through and yells at herself to get up and keep going, which is more motivation than I've ever had to do anything. Finally, she sees it, a payphone. Wait, what? That's what this was all about? Wow, they really are hard to find these days. The phone is ringing, and it must be a pretty important call because Trinity runs to answer it even though a gigantic, honking 18-wheeler is barreling right towards her. She picks up the receiver right as the truck slams into her, the payphone and the brick wall behind them. Really hope that wasn't a telemarketer. The agent climbs out of the truck and surveys the wreckage as the other agents gather around him. She's gone. We'll need a search warrant, one says. The other says back, it has already begun. End of chapter 1. Now we jump ahead to our story. You've seen our next narrator on Kill Tony at the Attic in Columbus and Don't Tell comedy shows across the country, and she was voted Rookie of the Year by Columbus Underground. Layla Ingalls, novelize us.
Hi guys. Hello, Yellow Springs. Woo! I wanted to be prepared for tonight, so last night I watched Inception. I will be novelizing Chapter 9, Kung Fu Tussle, novelized by Dan McCoy, narrated by Layla Ingalls. That's me. Stop, thank you. Neo sat on the floor, enjoying a seizure. From Knickerbocker's flickering lights. A muscular man who was certainly large enough to be imposing. This is sexy. But nowhere near as large as a tank, walked in with the cockiness of the sort of movie actor who would demand a pay raise so large that his role would be recast if, for instance, that movie had 2 sequels. I'm glad you guys got that, because I didn't. Hey, I'm Tank, he said, extending his acceptably muscular arms to shake hands with Neo. You don't have one of those Neo gestures to the back of his head where his metal matrix port was. Brain anuses. Or brainuses, as we call them. Nope, me and my brother were 100% born in the real world. Neo wasn't really digging the star belly sneeches are the best sneeches on the beaches. The energy this guy was bringing. But he ignored it as the non-tank-sized man continued. I'm a genuine child of Zion. Zion, Neo asked politely. Oh man, it's rad. It's the last human city. It's like, you ever go to a rave under a bunch of stalactites? Never mind, you'll see it yourself in like half a movie. My band's playing this weekend. He handed me a flyer for his band. Tank Skankers. It's kind of like Electroclash, but we also hit big gongs. Man, these guys are funny. Thanks, Neo said, mentally throwing the flyer in the trash. And why are you here? I'm here to stick my thing in your brain and upgrade your software. That's the best thing ever. Moments later, Neo found himself in something that looked like a steampunk dentist chair or a tank shuffled through some computer disks. Let's see, in Carta 97, Leisure Suit Larry in the land of lounge lizards. Here we go, fighting for dummies. He jacked Neo in, and the chosen one shook as he had his first braingasm. Guys, this is porn. Countless fighting styles flooded his neurons. Jiu-Jitsu, Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun, Wing Chang. I'm not racist, these are the words. Countless fighting styles. Brazilian dance fighting, Brazilian wax fighting, foxy boxing. That thing where you have your friend get on their hands and knees behind someone and then push them over. They all course through Neo. Like the ultimate power fantasy of getting to be really cool without actually having to practice anything. His eyes sprang open to meet the gaze of Morpheus, who had yet again wandered into this stare creepily at Neo while he was unconscious. I know Kung Fu, Neo said, and also Kung Fu, the legend continues. Morpheus smiled, happy to see he'd introduced Neo into his little violence club. Well, let's see it, Grasshopper, he said. Suddenly, the two of them found themselves in a spacious, airy dojo. This is a sparring program, Morpheus said. It has rules similar to reality, but you can bend the rules a bit, sort of like corrupt Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. That got weirdly political. Neo nodded, understanding. Okay then, Neo, hit me with your best shot. Fire away. Twa, 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 Neo yelled. As he waved his arms around in a way that anyone writing a novelization of a movie would definitely not get paid enough to adequately describe. It's true, we're not getting paid shit. Seriously, like what are you supposed to do with an action scene? Describe every punch? You've seen Kung Fu movies before, you figure it out. It was like that. Anyway, even though he was doing a really good job at punching, it was no match for how good Morpheus was at punching. Once Neo saw how good his mentor could punch, he backed off and gave a little smile, as if to say, oh, I see, and then ran up Morpheus' chest, kicking him in defying gravity, like some kind of Wire Fu Looney Tunes character. But it turned out that Morpheus was good at kicking too. So kicking-wise, it was also kind of a draw. But if you were seeing this rather than having it describe you, it would look totally cool. This is like me telling my mom about my day. Back on the ship, a character whose name I would have learned if publishers had met my quote and ran into the mess hall yelling, fight, fight, fight! And everyone ran in to watch, like, a fight? I gotta see. Even though presumably training happened all the time, but whatever, I get it. The only entertainment on the Knickerbockers was the one copy of Pachisi that survived the apocalypse. And if they wanted to go watch TV, the only streaming service what they got was Crackle. Can you imagine? Gross. Meanwhile, back in the danger room, Neo and Morpheus were doing a bunch of cool-looking stuff. Like, at one point, Neo ran up a wooden beam and flipped over as if to say, eat my ass, Donald O'Connor. And singing in the rain. Oh, Donald O'Connor is singing in the rain. And then Morpheus gave a look that said, that don't impress me much, and kicked Neo into another wooden beam, breaking it. Like, cool it with the wooden beams, dude. The older man walked calmly toward the battered Neo, To Morpheus explained Neo's failure. You think I'm winning because I'm stronger than you. There are no muscles in the Matrix. There's no air that you're breathing. There is no spoon. Oops, sorry, the spoon line comes later. He casually kicked Neo in the face. So casual. It's all in your head, man. They talk like stoners for some reason. His words had intended effect on Neo, who cranked his inner playback controls up to double time and did basically the same punching he was doing before, but this time really fast. Turns out fast punching was a winning strategy. And Neo soon had Morpheus cornered against his old nemesis, a wooden beam. Neo growled, I know what you're trying to do. I guess it would be like, I know what you're trying to do. Morpheus shot back, I'm trying to free your mind. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Before you can read me, you gotta learn how to see me. Then he turned his eyes skyward to address the ship. Tank, load the jumpy thingy. Suddenly, the two men were atop a skyscraper, and Morpheus was wearing a leather duster and strapless goggles, except unlike you, he looked cool in them. You gotta let it all go, Neo. Doubt, fear, YOLO, you know? Then he ran toward the side of the roof, jumping high in the air, all the way to the next building, with a girlish whee! It's like the State Farm thing. Whoa, Neo said, in a manner that could only be described as Keanu-esque. That leather duster looks awesome when he does that. He backed up to get a running start. Okay, Mr. Anderson, he muddled to himself. It's time to make the donuts. Back on the ship, watching the action, Trinity bit her lip hornily. This was her favorite part, the jumping. Neo sped towards the edge. Whee! Whoa! He yelled as he totally biffed it, hard. It was embarrassing. Neo plunged towards the hard concrete below, while Trinity gave a look that indicated her horniness levels had plummeted. Just like Neo off the building. Fortunately, the concrete had been animated by Chuck Jones, so Neo bounced off it like an unattended child in a trampoline park. Everyone falls the first time, Cypher said, showing a lot of empathy for a guy who's probably about to be revealed as a villain. Right, Trin? But Trinity had already left to go to the next scene. That's chapter 9, everybody!
Good job, everybody! Now, before you go, we were instructed we can banter if you want. Do you have anything to banter about?
No.
I don't either. All right, great job. All right, so if you're like me, by this point you're already confused as to where we are in this story. So here to make everything clear is Novelizer's co-host, Kevin Carter. Kevin, come on out. Kevin, can you please explain where we are in the story so far, and I will take my answer in the form of a rap.
I will do my best. Can y'all please hit the music, please? Y'all know how to do that tonight? Still alive.
happening in the movie now. That was perfect explainer, Kevin. Thank you. Our next narrator is the author of Fix It. You've seen him on the BBC, MTV, Furious Britain, and Can We Take a Joke, with 7 Edinburgh Fringe Festivals under his belt, and he's currently headlining clubs throughout the US with over 1 million online followers. Luke Capasso, novelize us!
I didn't know we had the option to wrap it. I wasn't really prepared. All right, this is chapter 15. Cypher, I barely know him. The phone in the TV repair shop was still ringing. Neo and Trinity arrived. I'm going to do this kind of deep, dramatic. I'm going to do different voices, okay? This is the narrator's voice. Don't get confused. Neo and Trinity arrived with the other 2 characters, whose names, it turned out, was APOC and Switch. APOC was probably a cute nickname for his full Christian name, Apocalypse. Switch was named after some sort of switch. Neo picked up the phone, but as he raised it to his ear, he heard a soft click, then nothing. He stared at the dead line, puzzled. "What happened, Mrs. Trinity? What happened?" asked Trinity curtly. Trinity's a curtly lady. But Neo's always stupid. That's Keanu Reeves always looks lost. "I don't know," confessed Neo, staring at the phone. "It just went dead." Neo was visibly upset. He was very good at kung fu. Could he have unwittingly killed the phone? Trinity walked over to join him. Together they listened to the dead phone line. It wasn't a very exciting moment, visually. She pulled out her cell phone and dialed Tank. She could have just used her cell in the first place, but that's... Trinity's call began ringing faintly in Tank's headset. Cypher moved toward it. Stepped over the body of Dozer, still sizzling like a fresh cooked steak on the ship's floor. God, it smelled good. Probably Dozer's Axe body spray. Cypher loved steak. He ignored the headset and picked up the ship's landline instead. Call him old-fashioned, but he really liked to twirl the phone around his wrist. You know, fingers, like when he's dishing about murder, that sort of thing. "Hello, Trinity." This is Cypher's voice now. "Hello, Trinity," he said softly. I'll do it again, softer. "Hello, Trinity," he said softly. Trinity didn't say hello back. She didn't even know Cypher was evil at this point. Her phone manners were just generally not very good. "Cypher," she said, "where's Tank?" "I shot him with a laser gun, and now he's dead." "Oh, please don't be mad," Cypher said. Cypher mended his way over to Trinity's body. Mended, I learned, I looked it up, is actually a real word. It means to walk directly, spelled W-E-N-D-E-D. Take that home with you. Which was rested near the Cypher recliner on the ship. Snoring a little, he sniffled, inhaled the scent of her skin. She smelled all right, not great. He sprinkled some steak seasoning over her cheeks and forehead and breathed it again. Deeply this time. It had helped. "You know, Trinity, for a long time I thought I was in love with you." "Cypher, for God's sake, you're doing that thing again where you muse out loud instead of silently," said Trinity. She started to launch into a mnemonic the crew used to remind Cypher which one's a quiet sound and which one's an out loud sound. But stopped suddenly. "You're the one who betrayed us all," she exclaimed curtly, always curtly with her. APOC and Switch were standing next to her in the shop, trying to get an old Atari working. They looked up anxiously, sensing that things might not work out great for them. Long term, anyway. Yes, I did, said Cypher. He walked over to Morpheus's prone body. Hello, jack-off. He yelled right into Lawrence Fishburne's face. You never saw this coming, did you? Ta-da! Like a magician might say. Morpheus peeked open his eyes in a peaky, Morpheus-y kind of way. Curious to see if Cypher had produced a quarter from behind his ear. Magically. But there was no quarter. Not for this treacherous, that's not that hard a word, but it was hard for me. Treacherous Cypher. I wish I could be there, Cypher spat. When they torture you. Now he turned into a Kennedy. That way you know it was me who sold you out. He sprinkled a bit more of the steak seasoning on Morpheus's chest. For good measure, then he snorted a clean line off Morpheus's ripped chest. It was very hot. I'm confused, Trinity said. Can you put Tank on the phone or is he still dead? Morpheus lied to us, Trinity. Cypher roared, striding angrily across the floor. He tricked us. He didn't tell us what it would be like out here. He didn't say there'd be goop instead of steak. If he had, I would have told him to shove that red pill right up his ass. He paused and both of them wondered, could a red pill be used as a suppository? Or do you think it's responsible for autism? We don't know. Apart from the killing his friends and betraying him, I never got to do anything except follow his. Oh, I messed that up. I did. It was Cypher. Sorry, I thought I got the voices confused. I thought I made a mistake, but my mistake was thinking I made the mistake. If I had chose between that and the Matrix, I choose the Matrix. The Matrix isn't real, said Trinity. You were thinking of spoons, Cypher cried in exasperation. The Matrix is more real than this world. Cypher crossed the room and stood behind the chair where Apoc's body lay in repose. Repose is a great word. Here, all I gotta do is pull a plug, he said. But there, you gotta watch his face as he dies. Cypher gazed coldly down at Apoc's body. Then he grabbed the cord and yanked it out violently from its socket. Apoc's breath continued uninterrupted, but nearby the ready light of the waffle maker slowly dimmed. Which would have been a very dramatic moment if you had been about to make some waffles. Cypher scowled and yanked the next cord over. On the ship, Apoc's body merely slumped over a bit in its chair. But back in the Matrix, his eyes went blank and rolled backwards up in his head. And then they rolled back around the bottom again. Round and around they went, spinning like reels of a slot machine, dinging merrily. But then the first eyeball stopped on a big red X. A moment later, the second one joined it. Apoc's body toppled to the floor and dozens of quarters spilled out of his mouth. Switch and Neo squealed with glee and ran over to the coins. Trinity pressed a finger to her ear to drown out the clanking and the jingling in the background. If you have anything you want to say to Switch, Cypher continued, I suggest you say it now, before I turn her off like a... Cypher struggled to think of something he could just flip off abruptly. He looked around the room like a waffle maker. Shit, no, I mean a switch. He blurted out a minute later and came to her finally. Trinity turned towards Switch in horror. Switch grinned and waved back. She started to hold up an armful of coins to show Trinity. But at the moment Cypher turned to pull the cord connecting her consciousness to her body, she crumbled to the floor, emitting a high-pitched squeal, like air exiting a balloon. The coins tumbled from her arms, and freed from their weight, her deflating body flopped into the air and whizzed around, whirling, swirling, rebounding lightly off the walls before gibbering into a halt on top of an old television cord just inches away from its plug. Oh, don't get me started on plugs, quick switches, fork ghosts suddenly appearing, chuckling and rubbing the back of its head comically, then plodded out to the front door to go do something else. It's really struggling to read there for a little bit. Traditionally, I wear reading glasses, but we're in the Matrix. God damn you, Cypher, yelled Trinity, shaking her fist at the phone where Cypher was. Any more supporting characters here? Cypher called, looking around the ship. Extras? Tank? You still dead? There was no answer. All right, he crooned, sliding over to where Neo's unconscious body was in the chair. Neo's turn then. Trinity turned to Neo, her eyes wide with fear. He was standing in the TV shop with his hands in his pockets, rocking back and forth on his heels, making little fart noises with his mouth. There wasn't much for him to do right now. He was easily distracted. It was nice for him to take a little break from all the action. But then he caught her eye. Who is it? He mouthed, pointing at the phone. He hadn't really been paying attention to any of this. She covered the mouthpiece. She whispered, swirling her finger like this to signify Cypher's a crazy person. Neo nodded and looked around the room, already bored again. In one quick moment, Cypher seized the cord and wrenched it away with all of his might. But this time, the waffle iron lurched violently off the counter and smashed into pieces on the floor. Come on, Cypher spat, as he flung the cord across the floor. Did you pull it? Trinity asked, watching Neo for signs of death. Not really getting anything on this end. Hey Trinity, all that BS about Neo being the one, did you buy all that? Cypher asked as he finally grabbed a hold of the cord, keeping Neo alive. Yes or no? Trinity had forgotten the question. Yes? She just guessed. No, howled Cypher in disbelief. I meant no, Trinity yelled back. But Cypher had dropped the phone and was gazing incredulously at Tank, who had woken up from a dead sleep and picked up the laser cannon. Tank couldn't think of anything pithy today, so he just went ahead and shot Cypher in the face. Cypher flew backwards, his body smashed through some ductwork that evidently wasn't important for keeping the spaceship working properly. His jaw dropped open, his tongue unfurled like a Fruit Loop style across the entire length of the floor. A small gravestone with the letters RIP sprouted up from his head. And Tiny Tank, who was not dead, dropped the gun and picked up the headset. At the extraction point in the TV shop, the phone began ringing again. Trinity and Neo looked at one another. Probably someone trying to sell something, Neo said. Again, he's very dumb. Trinity picked up the phone, and a moment later she was sucked, Stargate style, through the phone wires and back into the real world. Her eyes jolted on the ship, instantly stinging from the canyon Cypher had shaken into her face. I'm going to read that whole sentence again, folks, just to pretend that last one didn't happen. Instantly stinging from the canyon Cypher had shaken into her face. I nailed it the second time. She saw Tank limping toward her, clutching his intestines in his hands. Tank, are you hurt? She said. novel because he hadn't noticed any of that. She surveyed the ship, taking in the aftermath of the battle. She looked up at Tank. His face, a mask of suppressed grief. Did APOC and Switch make it? She asked. He shook his head softly. Doozer? She asked. His face tightened and he looked away again. He shook his head no. The waffle iron? She inquired. He let out a small sob and gestured over to the shattered remains of the floor of the ship. Trinity's eyes watered in pain. Some more canyon fell into them. Cayenne, that's the word I keep saying now. Fill it in from the other parts. It's way better with cayenne. Public school. She stumbled forward and embraced Tank. As they held one another, a fresh chunk of meat sliced out of Tank's wound and hit the floor with a loud, wet splat. Both of them laughed at the funny sound it made. God bless every one of us, Tank screamed. Thank you.
Mr. Paso! Our next narrator is an actor, writer, and producer, and the artistic director of Unit J in Bushwick, Brooklyn, Rich Hario Narza.
Hey everyone, I'm gonna make this quick because we're out of time. I got pee real bad too. Chapter 21. Now Get Up. Novelized by Alex Rubens. For a moment, he forgot where he was, who he was. And the moment, remember, is all there is. Past is past. Future hasn't happened yet. Point being, for a moment means forever. He was dead. Forever. Then he heard a voice. Neo! Right, that's who he was. Neo. I'm not afraid anymore. Was that who he was? Wait a minute. That was Trinity talking. The oracle told me I would fall in love, and that man, the man I loved, would be the one. So you see, she said as he saw, you can't be dead, you can't, said Trinity, who he loved, because I love you. You hear me? And by the way, it was only when she said that he realized, yeah, wait a second, he could hear her, which meant, I love you, she said again. Him hearing her meant he was alive. Her loving him meant he couldn't be dead. But above all, him being alive meant he was the one she was talking about loving, which meant she loved him, which meant Trinity was his girlfriend. Now get up! Not a bad idea, except for the fact that he was dead. Or was he? Because she loved him. She loved him, folks. There was no spoon, except for that one, the love spoon, sung at the tune of the OJ's Love Train, written by Gamble and Huff. Well, maybe it was time for you to gamble and huff and get up, like Trinity was saying, and James Brown saying, get up, get on up, stay on scene, get on up, and defeat the machines? Should I take it to the bridge? You know? Okay, this wasn't real. Here's what was real. Los Angeles, 2029. Skynet was on that. Wait. Los Angeles, 1998. Genius flight choreographer Yuen Wu Ping's training process left Keanu Reeves with injuries requiring hip surgery. Hallway, 10. Now get up, she said. Here's the problem. Okay, what are we doing here, right? The writing? I mean, sorry, nobody likes fourth wall fuckery, but not nobody, but it's not like a huge crowd pleaser, right? Does Charlie Kaufman have a pool? I don't know. Not that pools will matter, but they don't not matter. At least not if you want a pool, right? But that's my point. This kind of writing, this self-conscious, self-aware, sort of show-offy, and it's still happening, by the way. This is still it. It's an ongoing problem. It doesn't go away because you acknowledge it, or acknowledge your acknowledgement of it, or acknowledge that your acknowledgement is performative. What's it called? Is it to tickle the fancy of the sort of people who want their entertainment smart? Then I put quotes around that, smart. Is it trying to prove that I'm smart? Is that what that is? And by the way, let's say that this is what this is, that I'm trying to sound smart. So what? Does that mean I deserve ridicule? It's not charismatic necessarily, it's probably not super attractive. Maybe counterproductive, self-defeating, but is it so awful? So much so that I'm inviting abuse. Did you see that Mr. Rogers documentary? You matter. We matter. Everybody matters. Every little kid. But also who the little kids grow up to be. Needy, insecure, flawed grown-ups like you, like me. You don't have to prove your worth. We don't have to carve into an unyielding reality that's set on destroying, or at least controlling us. We're part of the reality. We're as much a part of it as every other part. We are reality. We're real. We're alive. So he got up. The agents turned, stunned. No, he said. And of course the agents all fired their guns. Handled bullets, the whole thing. And he just stopped them. Stopped the bullets right there in a minute. They hung there. And he didn't have to do it, but it was a gesture of authentic curiosity. He plucked one of them out of the air. Just took it between his fingers and held it up. And then they all dropped to the ground, and the agents were like, how? He was the one. He saw the fucking code coming down. Agent Smith ran at him, went at him, but he was nothing now. Nothing. Neo easily deflected his punches, and he didn't even have time to think about it really. He took a second to think about other things, like, what if he was actually dead? What if this was a dream he was having in the last second of his life? What if he was undergoing psychiatric treatment by concerned doctors because he couldn't remember what was real and what wasn't real? Whatever. All right, he kicked Agent Smith away like nothing. And then, why not, just fucking dove into him and just blew him right the fuck out. Easy. The other agents watching didn't even really have time to do the process. And remember, they were computer programs and they still didn't even have time to really begin to process what they had just seen before he flexed and reality flexed around him. At which point they just looked at each other and ran away from each other. By the way, wasn't a calculated retreat or something. These cats were fleeing. It used to be, if you see an agent, run. Now the tables had turned. It was Messiah time. Except, Neo! Cried Trinity, because the squid things were busting into the submarine hovercraft or whatever those things were, and so Neo ran to the landline matrix portal or wherever that worked, but before we knew it, if he had gotten to it in time, they ran out of time and they had no choice. They had to turn the key thing on the thing that deactivated the robots, but would also make Neo go brain dead. But guess what? He was okay. And then it was all kissing and loving and other stuff. It was pretty hot, to be honest. Okay, so I'm gonna switch to second person present tense for this last part. So you read them up, carrier anomaly, system failure. When they try to trace it, and you're like, I know you're out there. I can feel you. This is me doing Neo. I know you're afraid of us, afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is gonna end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want to see. A world without you, without rules and controls, without borders and boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave you. You didn't have to find out, you just kind of riffed. Turned out pretty good. So you hang up the phone, just like you said. Step out of the old phone booth like Superman. You look around at all these people whose eyes are just like you said, you know, you're gonna open them up. And you are gonna open them up. I mean, unless you're dead, unless you're psychotic, unless you're dreaming, unless you're fictional, unless you're confused, unless you and Agent Smith infected each other or something. Or somehow still part of being a larger matrix that includes what you thought of as the matrix and involves what you do too as part of the programming. But stop. Maybe they did shoot you and you did die, or are dying right now. Doesn't seem so probable, but you know, to be honest, maybe you'll wake up dead, like whoever said that said. But here's the thing, if so, if you do, meanwhile, You're fucking Superman. Now get up!
All right, thank you. Make some noise for Rita Cleo one more time. All right. So that concludes the Matrix, but it's not our show. See, every week on the podcast, we interview someone who worked hard on the actual film we're novelizing. And we have a special surprise treat for you here today. I am excited that we managed to get the leather guy from the movie The Matrix right here at the Yellow Springs Film Festival. So please put your hands together for Tanner Styles. So Tanner, as you relax lazily in the chair, would you let people know what it is a leather guy does?
I did all the leather.
So, like, you just did all the
I did
leather.
all the leather. There was a lot of leather in that show, and I did all the leather.
Okay. How did you manage to make a movie with all this leather and no swish swoosh sounds? Because they never popped up in the movie.
That's a great question. That's the first time I've ever been asked that question, and it's a great fucking question.
I have a gift.
In the leather industry, we have a little trick for shows. We rub peanut butter on all the leather. No swish swish sound, but sometimes you get them little peanuts if you don't get the smooth kind.
You did use the smooth kind, right? You didn't use crunchy.
Bro, I've been in this business a long time. Of course I got the creamy.
Okay, all right. I will say, as watching the movie, I want to thank you in your efforts and your job because you managed to give Trinity an ass with the leather, and I thought it was quite impossible, but you were able to do that, and I appreciate you for making that happen with the leather.
Thanks, man. Yeah, leather's kind of lost art form, you know, and a lot of the talent on that show, they were cool with it. Larry liked his leather, Keanu liked his leather, nice guy, loves motorcycles. Carrie Ann Moss was a real pain in my ass, I'll tell you that right now. She's a vegan, she didn't want to wear no leather. So every time you see her in leather, that's actually fruit roll-ups.
Okay. That's a nice little information nobody knew, so we want to thank you for that. What got you into doing leather? Like, what got you into doing
I'm
that?
6th generation leather. My dad was a leather guy.
Uh-huh.
His dad was a leather guy. His mother was a leather guy. But they weren't allowed to be leather guys back then, so she had to wear a leather dick.
I can assume that's when dildos were created, I would assume, so yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Also, they got her fruit roll-ups, by the way.
Thanks for that information. We appreciate it. So was there anybody that like wore it the best? Like who to you?
Larry wore it the best. Right? Yeah, Morpheus, we call him Larry, Lawrence Fishburne. He knows how to wear leather. And peanut butter.
Did anybody get mad if they had to put peanut butter on their bodies?
Joey Pants did not like the peanut butter. He has a peanut allergy.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the leather protected the allergy, correct?
Nope.
Okay. Did you apply it?
He almost died.
Really? Okay.
He wasn't supposed to die in the original film. He was supposed to be the one. But he had peanut allergies, so they killed him off.
Yeah, like we can't have that. We got that peanut butter.
Can't have that if you want to have leather in a movie.
Yeah. Were you the one that applied the peanut butter over their bodies and stuff?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
People say, what's the best part of the job, Tanner? I tell them the same thing. Rubbing peanut butter on Keanu.
I feel like he wouldn't have any emotion towards that. Did he feel the type of way about it, or was it just here, just rub it on my penis?
Well, no. I mean, with Keanu, he had his own fluffer. He had his on-set fluffer.
Okay.
So I didn't go anywhere in this area.
Okay.
Pits, yes. Inside of the nostrils, yes. Ear canal, yes. Now maybe you're thinking to yourself, why do you need to rub peanut butter on those parts if there's no leather there?
Mm-hmm.
He just liked it.
We're not gonna argue with that. Have you had any other jobs outside of the Matrix doing leather?
Yeah, I came up to Yellow Springs. I was doing leather for Chappelle.